On today's show, the Yankees had a fun time at the All-Star game. We'll give you our thoughts about the game and the broadcast because Fox did some fun things that worked and some things that didn't quite work. Plus, I have some thoughts about the reaction to Giancarlo Stanton winning the All-Star MVP. All that and more next on Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, Yankee fans. Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Stacey Gotsulias, and I'm joined by my co-host, Abby Mastracco. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, including Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. Also hit the like button and the bell so you're notified as soon as our videos go live. Also, feel free to comment if you feel so inclined. We just passed 1,300 subscribers on YouTube. Yay! That's exciting. Maybe we can get to 1,500 by the time the playoffs start. That would be a cool number to achieve. So, Abby, it's hot as hell in the New York area.
So hot.
Oh my goodness.
I got a new AC though, so I'm excited about that. It is efficient.
Yeah.
Efficient.
Yeah. If you're
also,
listening, hold on one second. If you're listening to us, you might hear a slight hum in the background behind Abby. That's her new AC. And you're going to hear something behind me because if you can tell, my window does not have an AC. So I have a fan blowing on me because it is unbearably hot in this house. So I apologize if there's background noise, but we'll try to drown that out with our voices.
It's so much stronger than my old one. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know how I was living before.
Yeah. And it's funny because, it's hot in a lot of places. I mean, poor people in England are melting because it's 105 degrees or, above 40 Celsius over there, which they don't see. And they're not a place that has AC and central air, and people are melting over there. Just welcome to summer and welcome to, global warming.
Oh, wonderful, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. It's great. Now, speaking of warm places, the All-Star game in LA, it was a fun time, at least for the Yankees who participated. They didn't embarrass Yankee fans, which is great, because that's always my biggest fear, that, you're so excited about the Yankees making the All-Star game, and then, like a pitcher will give up a home run or something crazy like that. But that happened to the Dodgers instead in their home stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. What did you think of the game? Because I know you were watching.
Yeah. I thought that Fox really tried some things, and as you said, some of them were cool and some of them weren't. However, my overall thought, if you're gonna try these things, I saw some mixed reactions from I think it was fans and media. There were some media members who were saying well, why are they interviewing guys when they're pitching? And then there were some fans who were like, who cares, it's really cool. That's what matters,
right?
If the fans like it, gives them sort of a different glimpse into a world that they don't always get to see. They're sitting there screaming on their couch, oh, why'd you throw that pitch? Well, now you know why. But it sounds like the players actually enjoyed it as well, which I found interesting. I thought that maybe it interrupted the flow of the game a little bit, but it's a different kind of game. You don't have to stick to balls and strikes. You can try different things like that. And we've had the general conversation quite a lot about how baseball needs to continuously evolve. Well, that means the broadcasts do as well. ESPN tried this during hockey this year. They had in-game interviews. A lot of fans thought it was very disrespectful to the coaches. ESPN came back and said, this is a way to help grow the game by giving fans insight into what is going on the bench in that moment. Maybe this does attract some younger fans if you're going to go do some in-game interviews and not just the typical, talking to the first base coach while he's in the dugout type of thing. If you're going to actually talk to a guy during an all-star game like this, I can't see them doing it during the playoffs or anything like that. But if it grabs a couple extra fans, it gets people interested in sort of like the pitcher catcher dynamics, then it's not a bad thing.
Right. That was the big difference that I was seeing. People who were complaining that they were aiming it towards the younger generation, and some of the older people were mad about that, which I thought was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the world's catered to sort of a like homogenous baseball fan for as long as I can remember, for as long as baseball has been around.
Yeah.
We need to be continuously grabbing younger fans, whether some of these older fans like it or not. They're not the only ones watching baseball.
Right. Right. And this is the perfect time to do it. The game doesn't count anymore. The winner doesn't set the home field advantage for the World Series anymore. And this is the type of game that's perfect for this kind of experiment. I mean, I loved Cole and Fried talking to each other back and forth. I thought that was really funny. You got to see Garrett Cole's personality, which was nice. But my thing about the Nestor Cortes and Jose Trevino thing, we spoke about it before we started recording. There were so many fans of other teams who were angry, but in a funny way, because they were angry that they found two Yankees so likable and that they loved that insight into the inning.
It's so true, though. And even the inning after that, where Jose Trevino was at bat, and he's like, "You guys can keep talking to me," and he gets his first hit, and he's like, he was like walking up into the batter's box, and he's like, "Wow, it's my first All-Star game. This is so cool." It was so endearing.
Yeah.
And it I was watching the game with a Red Sox fan, and I turned around and I was like, "Does this kill you to see a Yankee so likable?" And he like kind of hemmed and hawed, and he's like, "Lou's all right. I kind of like the guy. He's fine."
Yeah.
Like, this is a diehard, born in Southie Red Sox fan, and he's like, I kind of like the guy. Like,
yeah,
he was just so endearing, and he was so genuinely happy and excited to be there. And like a little kid, this is what you dream of, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes you have this, I don't know, not attitude necessarily, but like you go into autopilot and it becomes just another baseball game. The playoffs are a really big stage, and older guys in the clubhouse will always preach keeping a very level head and not letting the whole circus of it, the effect, get to you. This is a game where you can let the circus, like, you can take it all in. You can take it for what it is, and you can enjoy it and just soak it in and understand, like, you got to this big stage for a reason, and it's pretty cool. It's what you all dream of. And Jose Trevino did exactly that.
Yeah.
He really enjoyed every moment of it. He made it count, and he was just like a little kid out there. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that moment, as you said, when he walked up to the plate and he's like, "I can't believe I'm an all-star." Like, oh my God. I mean, I would have the same reaction too, because who expected that? Like, when the season started and he wasn't really even a Yankee, who would have expected to see Nestor Cortes, Jose Trevino, Clay Holmes? Sure, you'd probably expect to see Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, but the other three was just such a fun surprise. And we're going to talk more about that in a second, because we'll talk about Judge and Stanton and Holmes and everyone else's performances. Garrett Cole didn't pitch, obviously, because he pitched on the weekend, and his performance was really just during the broadcast. And again, it was fun to see that, because this is the type of situation where you get to see their personalities more. And that goes for everyone, because everyone who was mic'd up, you got to see how fun everything is when they're playing baseball, which is how it should be. So in a moment, we'll talk about Stanton and his big home run. But first, you like jewelry?
Do I?
Yes.
I do. I enjoy jewelry, yes.
I do too. And to our guys out there, whether you're ready to pop the question, or you're celebrating a milestone moment like an anniversary, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting styles. Then their jewelers will handcraft her perfect engagement ring, and each ring is one of a kind. BlueNile.com is the original online jeweler. Since 1999, they've helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring. So whether you're customizing an engagement ring or designing diamond stud earrings for a big anniversary, online jeweler Blue Nile will allow you to create a bigger, more brilliant piece than you can imagine at a price you won't find at a traditional jeweler. If it's not perfect, no problem. There's a 100% satisfaction guarantee, so you can shop stress-free with guaranteed free shipping and returns. And if you need your special purchase fast, in most cases, Blue Nile can deliver overnight. Every order is insured, and it arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Make your moments sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Yankees listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use code LOCKEDON. Again, that's code LOCKEDON. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Which NFL stars move the betting line the most? Starting July 18th, Locked On gives you the 50 most valuable players in the NFL from odds makers at BetOnline. Available starting on July 18th on Locked On NFL, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. So Stanton, the hometown boy. This whole situation was storybook. He's from Los Angeles. His dad used to bring him to Dodgers games. He used to sit in left field. They put him in left field, and he hits the game-tying home run into the left field bleachers. Like, what? Like, they always talk about...
It's very brave of Mr. Stanton to take his young son to left field. Left field gets rowdy in Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, we've heard stories about how crazy it gets, because everyone always talks about the Yankee Stadium bleachers, but Dodger Stadium bleachers were pretty rough too, people.
They didn't even sell alcohol for a long time in left field.
Yeah, they had to limit the alcohol consumption in the right field bleachers at the old stadium after a while because it was bedlam out there. But I just love...
I once saw somebody in the old stadium pour a beer on a Texas Rangers fan's head.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't. So I understand the limiting of the alcohol, but I don't understand wasting.
Right. Like, there's that infamous clip of Tino Martinez hitting the grand slam against San Diego in '98, and they show the angle of the upper deck from the side, and you see the ball go into the crowd, and then you see this guy just throw his beer. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, those beers are expensive.
It's like, I know you're happy, about Tino hitting a grand slam, but why are you throwing your beer onto the field, crazy person? But I feel like we talk about this all the time. I feel like baseball is that one sport where stories like this always tend to happen in big moments. It's always like, oh, this guy grew up here and this special moment's happening. But the whole playing in left field, hitting it to left field, where he used to sit as a kid, I just think it's great. And you could tell in his post-game interview that it got to him and that he couldn't, because he said it on the field and then also in his post-game press conference, you could tell he was about to shed a couple tears talking about his dad.
It was emotional. It was kind of cool to see. It's this, look, as we just talked about, this is a way for baseball players to showcase their personalities, and baseball is not traditionally a sport where the personalities are well marketed. But I can't really remember a time when we actually got to see Giancarlo Stanton's personality.
Not really.
So, he tends to have this veneer of this, I am a ball player. I'm a tough guy. This is just what, he goes, like I said, sometimes these guys just go on autopilot. They play a baseball game. But this is the kind of game it's really special and it's meaningful. And yeah, it is kind of like a silly, I don't know. Sure, it's meaningless in the standings and there's no longer any sort of competitive, I don't know, aspect attached to it. But it was interesting for me to see Giancarlo Stanton, of all people, let that guard down and enjoy what had to have been a really cool, really meaningful moment for him. Dodger Stadium is a cathedral for a lot of people. In Southern California, we all know that being fans of these teams, where you're from, there's a lot of pride attached to it. But some of these other teams, no offense to the Oakland A's, but when you're from New York, when you're from Southern California, there just tends to be a different sort of cultural aspect attached to it.
Sure. And
I thought it was, I don't know, it actually made me miss Los Angeles. And I don't really know Giancarlo Stanton very well, other than some post-game interviews that I've done with him, which tend to be very short. But I think in this instance, like, I don't know, I think he kind of felt like he was he was he was speaking to like all of LA. He was speaking to all of New York. And I know I saw some fans on Twitter who I know that they really appreciated that response as well and felt like, I don't know, almost like maybe like they were watching their friend have like a happy moment.
Right. I will say, when Billie Jean King and Steve Garvey, and they were standing there about to present the award, then the camera had to zoom out because Stanton was so much bigger than them, and it just was such. I just thought that was the funniest thing ever because it was just like they pulled the camera back, and there's this
massive dude.
giant.
Like, when you're standing in front of him, I'm only 5 feet tall, so like there's times when I'm in the locker room and I'm like standing next to him trying to interview him, and seeing him on TV like doesn't even do him justice.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be next to him in person to understand just like what a massive dude he is.
Right. Because I'm 5'9", and he would make me look short. So
but he's also just like
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is built like an athlete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same thing with Judge. Like we always joke about the big boy outfield with him at 6'6", Judge at 6'7", Gallo at 6'5", and Gallo, coming over here and being like, I'm used to being the tall guy in the team, and you got these two.
But Gallo's a little more lanky. Like, these other guys are just built.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just built like, I mean, not that Gallo's not built like an athlete, but it's just sort of that prototypical athletic build that they have. They're, they've got thick legs and thick shoulders, and it's just different. Gallo's a little lankier, and I don't know. I really enjoyed Giancarlo Stanton last night. And even my friend, look, it takes a lot for a Red Sox fan to be like, with Trevino, like, okay, I kind of like the dude. Like, dude's okay. He was like watching Giancarlo Stanton in awe. He's like, I just like watching his swing. I really like his swing. I was like, this is very entertaining for me to just watch a Red Sox fan sort of have this like come to Jesus moment where he's like, man, the Yankees are doing really cool things.
Yeah. Poor Red Sox fans, poor Met fans, because as I was saying with the Trevino and Cortez thing, a Mets friend of mine, he's like, yeah, I really hate that the Yankees have likable players. This doesn't feel comfortable for me at all, and I'm not enjoying this. He's like, I am enjoying it, but I'm not.
How do you not like Nestor Cortes? And the way that he was so willing to just like, I don't know, try some funky deliveries. His delivery's already funky, but the way that he was sort of playing it up while he was mic'd up.
Yeah.
That was really cool, I thought. And it was also, it just showed, I guess, kind of the person he is. Look, he never thought he'd be there either. Him and Jose Trevino, like you said, we're not, I don't think these are the guys that we really foresaw being at the All-Star game.
Right.
But so he's enjoying the moment, but he's also sort of giving fans an insight into how he works on the mound. But it's entertaining to watch that weird delivery that he has, like even on a good day when he's not messing around, and then he's messing around, and it's like throws that like sweeper or whatever you want to call it. It was so cool. It was great. Yeah. How do you not like those guys?
Right. Even Colin McHugh tweeted, he's like, that was the best inning of baseball I've ever watched. Like, that was so great. Yeah. And
I look, it takes kudos to a network like Fox for trying new things, because that is a network that still gets the ratings and doesn't necessarily need to try new things.
Right.
That's a legacy network with a legacy crew. Although I will say I very much enjoyed Joe Davis. And I was in LA when he had his first year doing play-by-play with the Dodgers, replacing Vince Scully. Like, obviously a tough position for him to be in. And so I feel like I've watched him grow a little bit as a broadcaster, and I think he's been a really fantastic addition to that crew. Yeah. But this is a network that doesn't necessarily need to throw out gimmicks.
Right.
They're not trying to win over audiences. People tune into Fox because they know that there's going to be baseball. They tune in to hate watch Joe Buck,
Yeah.
But they did. They still went out and said, what can we do to shake things up, try something new and give fans a new look at baseball, or a deeper look at some different things in baseball, because so much of baseball is like these teeny tiny little moving parts, and you can go so in depth in some of those. Pitch delivery, grips, pitch selection, like swing mechanics, and even like strategies on the field as well. Like baseball has so many small little elements that all go together.
Right.
And yes, there are a lot of casual fans who say, I don't care about any of that. It just bores me. But there's a growing, like there's a market for that. Like fan graphs exist because there are people who like to do deep dives in advanced analytics. Their analytic, like teams are employing these large analytics staffs. So I thought it was a really cool look into something a little bit. It was just different, and it was really great insight.
Yeah. Even hearing Trevino at the plate when he was up and the pitch is coming to him, and, Davis and Smoltz being, actually Davis's reaction to Trevino's hit was really fun. I enjoyed that too, because he's like, hey, yeah, good for you. Like, wow, this is so cool. Don't try to go to second, but I think the guys in the dugout were kind of razzing him because he didn't go to second, but
they were, you could see it. Yeah. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So in segment 3, I'm going to put my obnoxious Yankee fan persona on, because there was some controversy last night with the MVP selection. But before we get into that, betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including Major League Baseball and NFL futures. Where will Juan Soto land? Who will make the playoffs? Who will win the divisions? You can wager it all on BetOnline. Right now, the Mets are the favorite to land Soto, but the Yankees are right behind them, according to BetOnline. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. The Juan Soto thing, let's just talk about this briefly for 1 second. It came out that after he rejected the $440 million contract, the Nationals refused to charter a flight for him to LA, and he had to fly commercial, and he didn't get into LA till 1:30 in the morning. But he came out and won the home run derby anyway.
Yeah. I thought, like, this is... So when, as a beat writer, I would always sort of get some insight into, like, you always sort of ask, like, when did the team get in? You want to know because... Sometimes it affects, like, they'll cancel BP or something like that, or it's the middle of a long road trip. You want to who's kind of fatigued. Is it a bad day for the bullpen? That kind of, like, if you got in really late, that can sort of affect things. So it's one of those small things that you always ask about as a writer. I thought it was interesting hearing about some of the, I don't know, not flight shenanigans, although if they're flying commercial right now and they're experiencing, like, the same stuff as the rest of us with, like, lost baggage and sitting at gate check for hours, or sitting at the gate for hours, like, I do kind of laugh at that, because welcome to the
real world.
Yeah, of travel. But the Astros let the A's pitcher on their charter. Why couldn't they have just, like, gone and gotten Soto?
Yeah. I mean, really, just fly all over the place and pick them up. Hey, you need a ride too? Okay, come with us. I just thought that was amusing. Okay.
I thought it was kind of interesting hearing about that. That's, like, not stuff that you typically do. It's stuff that we ask about just to, like, know how guys are doing on a day-to-day basis, but, like, it's not really stuff that gets reported a lot. There isn't typically, I mean, there's not really a lot of interest for it, but in that case, there's definitely interest for it.
Oh yeah, because I mean, he's the talk of baseball right now, because for the next few weeks, people are going to wonder where he's landing, and
it would be so Yankees, like old school Yankees, to land him, because remember, I mean, I know you do remember this. I shouldn't preface it by saying that. When the Yankees were the Yankees of the 90s, early 2000s, every good free agent, it was just sort of assumed, oh, he's going to the Yankees. We joke about it. How long before he goes to the Yankees? His contract's up in 3 years. In 3 years, he'll be a Yankee. Like, they got every top free agent, every like top player, the trade targets. It would be so Yankees again. And fans have complained in recent years that that's not how the Yankees are operating. You know, they didn't go after Carlos Correa. And I think look, this would be a great way to return the Yankees mystere.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I would like for them to return to the evil empire moniker.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Some people like them now.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
They're like the most likable evil empire.
So last night, some fans had an issue with Giancarlo Stanton winning the All-Star MVP because he hit the home run to tie the game, and then Byron Buxton came up and hit the home run that ultimately won the game and put the AL up 3-2. Now, I kind of understand that angle. Sure, he put them ahead. But if Stanton doesn't hit the game-tying home run, then his home run doesn't mean anything. And Twins fans were up in arms last night, and I just found it funny because, you know, it's All-Star MVP. Does it really mean anything in the grand scheme of things? And my thought is, Twins fans have nerve to complain about Giancarlo Stanton winning the All-Star MVP when Justin Morneau has the AL MVP from 2006 in his trophy room, and he wasn't even the MVP of the Twins that year, and he stole it from Derek Jeter. So you guys can take a seat, okay? And stop complaining. And they're, you know, Yankee fans have a bigger fan base. Yankee fans weren't voting for that. You could tell from the All-Star results that Yankee fans weren't really voting for people because all those Blue Jays got in. Like, no, Yankee fans don't do this. They'll complain if Yankees don't make the All-Star team, but they won't vote them in. They won't. New
Yorkers love nothing more than complaining.
Right. So Minnesota Twin fans, I love you. I have a bunch of Twin fan friends on Twitter, but you were annoying the hell out of me last night. No, sit down. You still have that MVP from 16 years ago that was stolen, so just stop. Thank you. All right, now I'll take the obnoxious Yankee fan thing off. That was fun, though. The back-to-back thing was a lot of fun. They both hit the hell out of the ball. Stanton's went 457. Buxton's went 425. And Buxton, that was a high pitch. That was well out of the zone, and he reached for that and just... Wow, that was impressive and a lot of fun for the AL team. And speaking of the AL, man, the NL just can't win in the All-Star game.
No, what is this, like 9 straight?
9 straight. My brother was actually going through from the 70s, the 60s and 70s. The NL used to win a lot, and then it flipped. And since, I can't remember the exact year, the AL has just been beating up on them. Like, there are a couple times the NL has squeaked in there, but usually it's the AL that seems to win all the games. But yeah, it's 9 in a row now for the AL.
Maybe it's because they had so many Yankees.
Yeah. Or, I don't know. Like, you know, last night, low scoring, only those 2 home runs were the ones that got all the runs in. The pitching was pretty good last night. And a lot of people don't like that, though, because, they want to see guys hitting home runs and they want to see, offensive explosions. And I know that there were people who were hoping for the home run derby to happen if the game ended in a tie. And I think they were kind of hoping that the AL would allow the tying run so they could go to the home run derby to determine a winner. But alas, that did not happen. But I love that rule, and I hope they do it again next year, and I hope it actually happens, because that's another thing that you should try in a game that doesn't count and is just an exhibition to show fans how fun baseball could be if MLB allowed it.
There's a story I wrote when I was covering the Mets. Curtis Granderson told me he thought that they should have a home run derby to end extra inning games after something like the 12th or the 13th inning, because he said that he didn't think that there was any point in playing just all night, especially in April. And this was after like a particularly bad extra inning game. Travis d'Arnaud got cramps and had to be replaced behind the plate, like in like the 14th inning or something. I don't know. And and then it was right before a day game, a getaway game. It like had a domino effect. And
why does that always happen, by the way? Like, it's always those long ass extra inning games that always tend to happen before a day game. Like, there's always a day game after that happens. So I understand the zombie runner, ghost runner, whatever you want to call it, rule just for that. But I agree with Curtis Granderson. I think after the 12th inning, it should be a home run derby. You pick your best home run hitter or, someone who you think would be good at it. And the other team gets to. And then, like one of those old home run derby shows, the black and white ones that they used to show with all the old players. That could be a lot of fun.
Again, we have to evolve. I do see the traditionalist aspect of this. I wrote about how I didn't hate the Ghost Runner last year, and oh boy, were my DMs full. I think what people didn't necessarily read on that column that I wrote, though, was I said that they shouldn't do it until after the 12th inning.
Right.
And that they should absolutely not do it during the postseason.
Right.
There's like extra innings, man. Like nobody wants an 18 inning Tigers Royals game in April when it's 27 degrees out.
Right.
And then there's all these people who like to say like, oh, you're not a true baseball fan if you don't watch that. No, get out of here. Like I'm a baseball fan and I don't want to watch that.
There are Royals and Tigers fans who don't want to watch that.
I don't want to watch that.
Right.
Like, don't get out of here with that. Like these rules about being a fan. Like, come on, man. I
talk about it all the time. I was covering the 18-inning Dodgers Red Sox game in the 2018 World Series, and it was out in LA, so it wasn't so late for them when the game ended, but it was still late for them when the game ended. But it was really late for me, and I didn't file my story till like 6:59 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah. I was at that game.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. I just think it's unnecessary to drag these games on into the deep hours of the morning, especially when you got a day game the next day or you got to fly across the country. I just think that maybe we could rethink it a little bit. And this was a perfect opportunity. I was really hoping the National League would score in the 9th.
Just to see it happen. Yeah.
Man, Clase is a really good reliever.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got so much movement and velocity on his pitches.
Yeah.
So much movement.
Yeah, the movement is crazy, especially at that high velocity. It's like, it's like magic watching that ball move. So
there's some really, really skilled players last night on display, and ultimately, I thought it was a fantastic display of what is good in baseball right now.
Yeah,
I thought it was a good representative sort of faction of things that are going on in the game. You've got pitchers like Nestor Cortes with his mustache throwing, weird sweepers. And then you have superstars like Giancarlo Stanton, and you have guys chopping it up with each other at first base. And you have guys throwing ungodly breaking pitches. Like I thought it was just a really good representation of what baseball is now. It is not the same game that it was in the 70s, but it's still in a lot of ways the same game it was that we've all grown up enjoying. And I just thought it was I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched a ton of sports the last few weeks because I've just been sort of burnt out from a lot of the hockey playoffs, and I need to
calibrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good word. I need to recalibrate, and I've learned when to sort of back off the gas pedal so that I don't get burnt out and hit a wall. And I just have not been. I've always had baseball, and in the summer, like I always have it on in the background. Like I'll have any game on in the background, and I love listening to it on the radio while I'm like making dinner or something. I'm outside grilling on my patio. I love having John and Susan on.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I'm still not like retaining the information or like paying attention to the game. I was sort of hooked last night. I really enjoyed it. I did.
Yeah, it was good. Now, programming note. Yankees are playing the Astros tomorrow. 2 games, doubleheader, starts at 1:10 p.m. If the matchups are set for the game tonight, I will be recording a preview. But if they're not, then post-game show for tomorrow. We're trying to do a new thing with Locked On. We're trying this in the second half of the season. We're going to try post-game shows so you guys see immediate reactions to how the Yankees do. And since it's a doubleheader against the Astros in Houston, this could either be really bad or really funny. So, it might be fun, maybe, if it's not a complete disaster. So we'll see how that goes. But again, if the pitching matchups are set, if the Yankees and Houston actually help me out, you might get a late show that'll be up in the morning, so you have a preview for the doubleheader. If not, it'll just be a post-game show. Or maybe a show in between the games of the doubleheader. We'll figure this out tomorrow.
Stacey has lots of ideas.
I do. It's the ADHD brain in me. I have tons of ideas. Do I execute them a lot? No, but I have tons of ideas.
Also a very typical ADHD trait.
Yes.
Starting things, not finishing them.
Yes. So if you have ADHD and you're listening to this podcast, we relate to you
We feel you, and we appreciate you.
Yes, we do. So that is it for this episode of Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Abby and I would like to remind you that you can listen to this show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, like and comment, and then click the bell notification so you know when our videos go up. And if you're looking for something else to listen to after you listen to us, why not listen to Locked On MLB Prospects? You can make your second listen of the day Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. One more thing, if you could be so kind, please rate the podcast and spread the word about this podcast to your fellow Yankee fans. We'd really appreciate it. So, enjoy your Wednesday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at some point.